if so, you can pump Arsenal 4-0 North London derby, but you don't get in the Champions League, or somehow you lose 4-0, but they crumble and you get the Champions League. Which one would you choose? Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. Big game on Thursday, North London derby. So who am I going to talk to? The one, the only, Flav. We've just done our mailbag, and I actually texted you before saying, would you do a cheeky little preview? Because I think people care. And I was thinking, when are we going to do the podcast? Are we going to do the podcast before? Are we going to do the podcast after the game? It's obviously a huge game. And you said, let's chat before the game, because I'm gold before the game. Exciting.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with talking about Tottenham and Arsenal before the game.
Before the game, yeah.
Dealing with the fallout is what's difficult for Spurs and Arsenal fans in this situation.
Absolutely. So, going into it, let's talk about the Liverpool game first, because do you know what's weird? Like, the full-time whistle went, and I was like, great result. And then I thought, oh no, like, you actually probably need to win that game, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, how did you feel after that game?
No, 100% we needed to win it, but Arsenal fans were expecting us to lose it, and Spurs fans were expecting us to lose it. No, I don't think anyone, like, given the fact that there was jeopardy for Liverpool as well, like, you thought Liverpool were going to turn up and do what Liverpool do, which is win games that win them titles and win them Champions Leagues, and they just win, right, under Klopp. So we were in the similar situation where we thought that we needed a result to put pressure on Arsenal. But Arsenal fans were so convinced that we were going to lose that game that when we didn't, and not only did we not lose the game, we also could have won it. It meant that the energy going into the North London derby now is different from what it would have been if Liverpool had battered us. So
what is the energy then? Explain the energy. How are Spurs fans feeling?
I think we're better. We're feeling better than we would have done if Liverpool would have beaten us, because it means that Arsenal can't slip up if we beat them on Thursday. If they slip up at all in the final two games, then we're going to be on them, because you'd think that Spurs are going to win those games. Like, it's almost like being behind Arsenal in this instance means that the pressure's off to some degree. Even if they win, the pressure's off to some degree, because it's on them to lose. And we've seen throughout this season that whenever it's on Tottenham or Arsenal, and in the early part, Manchester United, to lose, they have. So maybe we're in that situation again. I think the feeling generally from Spurs fans is that we are a very good footballing team. We are a team that has players that can hurt Arsenal. And then you look at Arsenal and you're thinking, maybe if you're being the most optimistic type of Spurs fan, you're thinking Arsenal were a little bit naive. They're a good team. Arteta's doing the right things. They've got some great players, but they're super young. And you saw the result against Leeds. Like, Leeds were down to 10 men.
Yeah.
2-0 down after 27 minutes.
Gave them that. I mean, I doubt you're watching that game. But it would have been nice if they turned up. That was what Spurs fans said to me. Like, I'm not saying Arsenal didn't play badly, but that is the one thing that I would say. If I were, obviously I don't care. When I look at Arsenal the last couple of games, if you look at just the form table, and I'll show you it here, that looks pretty rosy for Arsenal. They are absolutely flying. But there's been goals in the Chelsea game recently. There's been goals in the Leeds game. It was 2 set pieces against West Ham. That doesn't make any of those results, less valid. But in terms of like utter dominance and just being a bit too good, which sometimes when you then step into, because I'm doing previews for the playoffs at the moment. So when I'm looking at that and looking at those games, I'm looking at 2 things. I'm looking at who's got a strong defence, a strong core who can deal with that 90 minutes or 180 minutes for this, because obviously it's the playoffs. But then the other side of it is which team is kind of flowing and which team is scoring goals. And although this is where I get confused, because Spurs do have that flow at times.
Well, your hesitation is about the 2 games against Brighton and Brentford, where we drew and lost that game. But before then, we were the top goal scorers in the Premier League in this calendar year, and we after those 2 games we scored 3 against Leicester. So yes. The narrative changes based on anomaly in the form. So
Right.
people are looking at Spurs and thinking.
So what would you put that down to? So what I'm trying to say is that Arsenal are doing brilliantly.
So are Spurs.
But are they brilliant? No. Spurs are doing well and keeping it going. And a draw against Liverpool is very, very good. You're still not utterly dominant. Like if we're saying it in the same way. But think of that Villa game. That Villa game, you won that game 4-0. It was bizarre. Like they were all over you for like large bulks of that game.
The first half, yeah.
So I guess if you're saying it's the Brentford game and the Brighton game recently, those are the ones. Why those two games, and then why do you play well against Man City or get something out of the Man City games, get something out of these Spurs games, Liverpool games?
I think you probably know the answer already. If you're looking at it, it's very, very simple. Like our best, the best thing that Tottenham Hotspur do under Conte and before under Jose Mourinho is counter-attack. So if you play against a team that wants to play you, then you're playing into our hands.
Yeah.
So Liverpool, Manchester, both games against Liverpool this season and both games against Manchester City, we didn't lose. We beat Manchester City twice and we drew twice against Liverpool. And you could argue that both games we should have won.
Mm.
So if a team comes out and plays against us, then you're playing into the very best of what we can do.
So what's the best thing? Because Arsenal, in any other game they'd want to have the ball, right?
Of course they do.
And this game they'll naturally probably want to have the ball, surely. But is that still the thing with Spurs? Is that even though with Antonio Conte there is a bit more aggression, they're a bit more assertive. Kulusevski's made a huge change to them going forward as well. Is it you're still a team that doesn't want the ball?
No, we are. We will take the ball. It's just much more difficult to get the results against teams that play a low block.
Right.
But if you're willing to face up, i.e., you have a footballing ideology that you want to impart on this game, and Spurs also have that same sort of footballing ideology in that we want to attack each other, then you'll see a very open game, and I think it will be this way. But if Arsenal, the best thing Arsenal can do, genuinely the best thing they can do, is just sit and use the pace of Saka and
Martinelli
and Nketiah as well. You know, these aren't sort of stagnant footballers. They're pacey and they can damage. If they have the personnel to really, really upset a Conte game plan, if they give us the possession, then we are going to struggle. Or we'll score early, maybe get a couple of goals, and then they are completely out of their depth and out of any kind of comfortable situation. And it's just about doing what they can to get back in the game. Like if they sit back and we score one or two early, then they have to come out. And if they do come out at that point, then the odds would suggest that we would kill them. That's how good Spurs are on the counter-attack. What I expect to happen is that they'll come out and play. They'll just play their normal game. Oh, they'll play and they'll lose.
Hopefully lose
this time. They'll bloody lose.
Yeah.
So it's just one of them. It's a nice mix of styles. If you take away all the need or all the sort of jeopardy that's involved in this game, then neutrals are going to enjoy it a lot. But
yeah, I think that's going to be an absolute cracker of a game. That's what I mean. I'm intrigued to see will you go kind of head to head with each other. I also look at this Arsenal team and I think Nketiah is obviously growing as a player, and literally, like, it seems a lot thicker than he used to be. And you've got a lot of players who are kind of starting to make their name there. It does still feel like you've got the names over them.
Yeah, but then if you think about Pochettino's Tottenham back in the day, we didn't have the names. Like Kane was coming into his sort of maturity. Son was unrecognised as a genuine world level footballer. Dele Alli was young and people were hopeful about it. So you could argue that the same is being said about Mifro, Saka. I could see you can hold a mirror up to this Arsenal team and say that's similar to what Pochettino had in 2014, 2015. So I get it. I get why there is excitement around it. I do wonder.
This is a weird question. If Spurs, like 100% of their potential, reaching their potential of how good this team could be, right, is 100%. What percentage of that potential were they fulfilling under Nuno, and what percentage have they gone up with Conte? Like up to today. Like I know in the summer he's going to want to buy players. He's going to want to take you up another level as well. But are you playing like to the best of your ability right now? And how much of an improvement has there been in comparison to Nuno?
When Conte took over at Spurs, the idea of us finishing the top four was inconceivable. We were never going to do that. There was no chance we could. We're so far. We were playing terrible football, Jim. Nuno had somehow made us play worse while getting a couple of results, worse than what we had played under Jose Mourinho. So we had the players to get results in the Premier League, and we will always, if we have this set of players, we'll always get results. But Nuno's system he didn't have time. He didn't have time to impart any kind of identity on it. But what he did was just sort of carry on what Jose Mourinho had done before, and didn't have the gravitas to impart those messages onto the player, clearly. And also he was dealing with the Harry Kane conundrum.
True.
Which made things very, very difficult. Your best player doesn't want to play for you.
Yeah.
You sign Conte, everything changes. Everything changes. Like, suddenly Kane's talking about wanting to sign a new contract. Or not, I should say he's starting to sort of forget about the contract situation and wanting to play. Son's starting to play well. Harry Kane suddenly comes into actual genuine form that we'd expected to see previously. We go on a massive run of like really huge results, and then we have a little hiccup against Southampton at home and Wolves at home where we lose both games, just in the middle of where it starts to pick up, and then Conte starts talking about, oh, maybe I'm not the right guy, and as fans you're like, please just don't say anything. Just say, if you're not gonna, like, if you've got no kind word to say, then just don't say anything at all. Yeah. Just shut your fucking mouth.
Yeah.
Just shut your fucking mouth. But he's not that kind of guy. So basically, I'm in a position now, James, right, is where even if Arsenal finish above us, and I'd hate it and it'd be painful and I'd have to deal with it over the next couple of weeks, if they finish above us and get into the Champions League next year, I don't think much will happen that will separate the two clubs, because we have Conte, and also, if you believe all the sounds coming out of the club, that we're going to be active in the transfer market. I don't think actually starting the season next year will be there'll be much of a gap between us. They'll have the.
So you saying it doesn't matter? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying I can reconcile. I'm trying to reconcile it. If it all goes tits up, then I've got to hold on to.
Okay, no, I think that's a valid point. It's interesting, that, isn't it? Especially with Arsenal, because Arsenal kind of, I don't know how much more money they can spend. Like, I'm not really good with the financial.
They'll have like Champions League makes you, if you go into the deep end of the competition, maybe 50, 60 million, which is huge. That's like selling one of your major first team players. So they could probably buy one £50 million player more than we can.
Okay.
But is Conte...
Yeah,
is
the pulling
Conte's
power,
ability and experience, there's pulling power there, but is Conte's experience worth the value that Arsenal have in the Champions League? And I think he is. I think that he brings it level again.
Let's bloody know in the comments is what I would say to that. So 62 points, plays 66. You're playing at home. You've got a better goal difference. So that kind of puts you up to 63. So actually, no, it doesn't. Oh, no, it doesn't, because you'll still be underneath. So if you win this game, 65 points, do you think Arsenal will crumble after that?
What is it? So does that mean if we win it, they're a point above us? So we need them to. I don't think they'll crumble, but
they may drop another point.
We've seen through the season that they can drop points. If we beat them up at White Hart Lane, and they go on to win the last two games, there's nothing we can do about it. You just have to accept it. Sometimes, as much as I hate Arsenal, and I genuinely hate them, I loathe them, they make me sick. But if they're better than you, if they beat you on the day, you have to bend over and just take it.
Take it.
I'm not sure. Is that okay to say?
I think it's absolutely
you
fine.
just have to. You have to take your medicine. You know, the football rivalry is important because
anal sex medicine. Sure it is.
Yeah. You have to take,
some cultures.
Take it. I mean, boofing is the best
suppository,
way to take
isn't it?
Yeah,
is that what you're saying? You're saying sorry, I was getting
it's
confused.
suppository, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So if you have to acknowledge the fact that sometimes your rivals will have it out and have the ace card on this day. and you have to take it because they have to take it, whether they like it or not. When we finish above them, or when we beat them in the North London derby, they have to take it. There may be a situation where we beat them in the North London derby on Thursday, and they end up finishing in the top 4, and in the space of 3 weeks, you've had 2 sets of fans that have had to take their medicine, and we all have to.
Final question then, because this is a good one to finish on. And Spurs fans, Arsenal fans, answer this one in the comments. If so, you can pump Arsenal 4-0 North London derby, but you don't get in the Champions League, or somehow you lose 4-0, but they crumble and you get the Champions League. Which one would you choose?
Without a shadow of a doubt, beating them 4-0.
Really amazing. Why?
It isn't even discussion. Because fundamentally, both of us will finish top 4. We'll have moments in Europe. But I remember beating Arsenal 5-1 in February 2008. I was at White Hart Lane, and we beat them 5-1 in the second leg of the League Cup. And that memory will never leave me. We've had many memories in the Champions League that I can't even bloody remember. But that memory will never leave me, because fundamentally the rivalry between Tottenham and Arsenal is more important than anything else in football. So beating them 4-0 would mean more than Spurs finishing in the top 4. And I don't think I'm probably in the minority there, but I grew up in Holloway. I grew up going to Highbury Grove School. I grew up living around those scumbags during the 90s when they were so much better than us. So yeah, for that reason, I'd say
take the day. Just to be clear, Josh Lucas, who's one of our beautiful, moist patrons, we've just done our mailbag, by the way. He said Arsenal would be clear if they won the game and would get Champions League football. But this was a hypothetical question, so just let it be, all right? Before you get all angry.
You'd be clear for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but you go back to being the football club that you are fundamentally. Like Arteta isn't the geezer who's going to fucking take you on to. He's an alien. He's a freak.
Sorry, starting to go grey as well. Incredible what management can do. Right, guys, subscribe to the channel. Join us for the podcast when it goes out, although it won't be live on the main channel because Flav can't take the risk. But imagine the knife edge. Imagine the other side of it, Flav. Imagine if you beat them. I think you'll change your mind.
If we beat them, I'm going live. 100%.
Right, if we beat them, we're going live. Join us. If not, we'll be doing it on the mailbag.
I won't be a performing monkey for Arsenal fans' entertainment. Never.
Noted. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.